Shines. Happy Sunday. This is going to be brand new on the Made to Shine podcast, what we're doing today. Full transparency, I have my bridal shower this weekend and I'm stoked. But this is also the first time in 2 years of the Made to Shine podcast that I didn't have an interview this week. So all that to say, it actually worked out in honor of season 5 of The Chosen coming out. Literally, I believe it's June 18th and it's June 13th right now. I actually want to replay one of my favorite conversations I ever had with someone who plays a cast member on The Chosen. So stay tuned. If you've already listened to this episode, I pray that you get something you didn't before out of it. And if you haven't, I pray this blesses you, friend. Remember, you have a ministry wherever you go and you are made to shine. Happy weekend. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Made to Shine show. I am like geeking over here because I'm so excited. This is someone who I've been watching from afar for so long on one of my favorite TV shows ever. But now, even from up close, she is just such a bright light and has such a beautiful spirit. I cannot wait for today's conversation. Yasmine, thank you for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. Now we don't have to watch each other on different, so we can watch right now.
No, we can have direct contact, especially when I come meet you in Austin and we have a girl date.
Yes, anywhere in Texas, because now you have to go to other places in Texas.
I know. We can go to a Dallas Cowboys game.
Yes. You just spoke to heart.
I am football fan, like agnostic. I root for them all because I'm not like for one team. So I will be a Dallas Cowboys fan for that day, though, that we go. I promise.
Oh, see, so now it's already like messing up. Oh, no.
What? Oh, I see you.
I can't hear you. I hear you. Okay.
You're good. I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
It says uploading. When the recording is done, you may need to stick around a little to upload your high quality recording.
Oh, it's still upload. Oh, yeah. It'll upload the entire time.
Okay, got it.
We're good to go, though. Yeah, we're good. We can just edit that out. And I don't know why there was just fireworks
a little bit.
I'm what?
You cut off just a little bit in that little moment. I don't know why.
Oh, weird. Okay. Well, we're good. Can you hear me? Are we good?
Yes.
Cool. All right, we'll just pick it back up then. But anyways, all that to say, Yasmine, as everybody knows on this podcast, we believe that every single person has a ministry. It's not just preachers. It's not just pastors. It's the way you live your life and shine your light in all spaces that you do. And again, from afar, what I've seen, whether it's NCIS Hawaii or The Chosen, or we were just talking before this about all these avenues of exploration you're getting into, like potentially directing, writing, producing, the world's your oyster. Like you are such a light in all spaces that you hold. And it's just so cool to see. And so I'm excited to dive in today on kind of your story, the who's in the zoo, but also like the God that you know that's like given you the strength to shine this light in all these areas. And so again, thank you for being on the show. And we do have a tradition here on the Made to Shine podcast. So before we get into the nitty gritty, my question for you to set us off is, what is your favorite quote and why?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start with that. Let's see. And it changes every day. What's your favorite quote? Do you have like
so many? Okay, mine, and then I want you to share yours. I have so many too, but this one just came to mind. Happiness is found just under your nose. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting it. I think I'm making this up.
So it's a quote from me. I'm just making it up now.
Okay, I'm doing a different one. My other quote is, you can choose to break apart or break open.
Aww. That's so lovely. From who?
Oh, I don't know. But the other one I remember, it's happiness is a smile found just under your nose. Like when you smile, makes you happier.
That one, yeah. I like both of those.
Okay, what about you, girl?
Oh man. Okay. So I am just right now what I'm thinking, because I like to try and just go with the flow and not make anything up. So what's coming up right now for me, just because we had our whole little pre-talk and everything, and we're talking about, I'm in Dallas right now, and we kind of were talking about football. So my favorite team is the Dallas Cowboys. And one of my favorite players on there, he's our quarterback. His name is Dak Prescott. And before he goes to make a play, he yells to the whole team. I'm going to do it right now. He yells, "Here we go." And then they start playing. And in that cadence, that way, every single time, no one else can do it. So now anytime I hear "Here we go" from anywhere, I'm like, oh my gosh, Dak. And there's a whole story behind it of why they started doing it and why he started doing it. And it's just because he wants to, it was a way to bring the team together and just to kind of get into that same mindset of everyone. Okay, guys, we're about to play. So let's get it together.
Yeah.
Focus.
Good.
And again, it's just that cadence, the way he does it. And so it's just,
Here we go. I can't even, I have to use that after this. I love that. You know, there's like a scientific, so I was a psych major in college, and they talk about having like trigger points, and trigger points is in like when you're about to do something, having something that triggers, it's game time. Or, so like for me, I have this little box of matches that my best friend gave me, and it's like a light always keeps shining, and I strike this match and light my candle, and it's like, okay, it's podcast time. Yeah. Do you have that for acting? Like, do you have something you're like, your version of "here we go"?
Yeah, I think it depends on the role. It depends on the project. Sometimes it depends on the scene too. So depending on what you're about to do, what your character is about to do, where in the storyline you're at. You know, some people do songs, some people have journals. So I've tried all of that. I don't have any one specific thing. I do like to, I'm not one of those actors. I admire a lot of those actors who can just be talking about something and then go straight into acting. I do need to take a little bit. So I love just kind of a little bit of quiet, just recollecting my thoughts. And again, depending on the scene, sometimes it is easy to just like go into it. But maybe I would say just a little bit of quiet time. I just need like just a little bit.
I feel you. I always I set a timer on my phone for 7 minutes, and it's like quiet. It's I pray or I listen to music, or no one can like bring in a conversation to me before I do anything I'm nervous about or like anything I want to be intentional about. And so I literally set a timer on my phone for 7 minutes, and I'm like, okay, this is my here we go. Like this is my zone, you know. I love that. Okay, so speaking of
7 minutes specifically,
you
was
know,
like 7.
it's so funny. I was always so bizarre about numbers. Like even growing up as a kid, I guess I don't know if it's a version of OCD, but I had to do things for like a certain amount of minutes. And 7 was always just this number for me. Like it was kind of like 7 was always my number. Even in tennis, I was a tennis player in college, and I would have to twist my racket 7 times before a match. And so now it's like 7 minutes. And then someone said the other day, they're like, well, that's great. 7 is like the number of completion in the Bible. So at least it's like biblically associated. And I was like, okay, sure. But I very much was just random.
Is it your lucky number now?
I will take it as my lucky number.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of 7 times?
I guess so. Honestly, the only thing I can think of is just that timer. But like if I read and like reading, I set a timer for 7 minutes, or I guess before podcast, I set that timer for 7 minutes. I think for me, it's like just long enough to where you can actually settle down, but not too long to where you're like, I don't have enough time for that.
Yeah, that's a good amount. That's funny you say 7 because whenever I'm running at the gym, I'm like 5 is too low of a number. 10 sometimes, that's a little too high. Let's calm down.
Let's not be so ambitious.
It just seems like it's a good
adopt it. Yes.
It's a good girl. Balance. It feels balanced. I agree.
I do it. I know it's funny how like we all have those little things, those things that I don't know, make us. I didn't even think that was a unique thing about me until this conversation, but I'm like, yeah, I guess no one else does that. Okay, Annie. Anyway, Speaking of quotes, so I did take this from your Instagram. You posted this. I don't even know when you posted
What
this,
did
but
I say?
I loved it. No, I think you were reposting the quote, but I loved it because it says, I wear the universe backwards. I imagine putting stars in my coffee and sugar in the sky. I imagine going fishing in the clouds and watching the sun hide behind the lakes. I'm too busy dancing with my imagination to even tiptoe into reality for a second. They say I'm going mad. They're right. And the reason I love that is there's a writer named Glennon Doyle, and she talks about how, like, our job is just to dance through life, and like God takes care of all the stuff that we tend to freak out about, and our job is just to enjoy it, like to look to him, serve him, and enjoy it. And I'm curious, going all the way back, because you're doing all this awesome stuff now, and you're like, was this always kind of the dream of that imagination of that girl dancing with her imagination and tiptoeing through life? Were you always just that free kid, or was that something that didn't come naturally and you had to work on?
I love that you described it in that way, because my initial answer is yes, that was in my imagination. The way I'm living my life right now is in my imagination. I was not expecting or creating any kind of game plan to get to where I'm at right now. And it just was not in the cards for me. It wasn't in the books. It was nowhere near. It was just something that I was like, oh, that'd be cool. That'd be so cool to live a life like that. And then as you get older, the ways of life and depending on how you're brought up and everything. So my parents were very traditional. And so they wanted me to get a traditional degree, go down a traditional route. So for me, really all that was presented in terms of careers was lawyering, doctoring, engineering, businessing. And I went the business route. And I there was something in me that it didn't come naturally. I think maybe at some point it was pretty natural for me. And I don't know if y'all did this whenever you were growing up, every however many years they would do like a career test at school.
Yes. Wait, which one did you do? Did you do like the 8-hour one?
You did an 8-hour one?
My Beth Mayfield, my mother, was like, yeah, we did the 8-hour one. So wait, which one did you do?
I don't think I just took the whole day. What? Parts were on your test. Oh my gosh.
Many. And at the end of the day, they basically told me, never be a doctor. Never. Like, they're like, your mind goes from one thing to the next. You need to do something with talking. You would drive your patients psycho. I was
That's
like, okay.
so funny. I wonder if that has something to do with it too, like to see the duration, the length of time, like which kids were able to do it, the stamina. Interesting.
That is interesting. What was yours? What was yours?
Mine, it was always something creative. And I was like, how am I gonna, and then plus I was brought up in Dallas. So I think it would be a different kind of scenario if I was brought up in maybe like somewhere like in Los Angeles or in California, where I could see that it just seems more tangible, but no one's doing this.
When you say creative, do you mean like something that isn't status quo that fit into like the engineering, like
entertainer?
Acting, music,
it was always
producing,
entertainer.
Or was it like
I got something
because I feel like creative
along the lines of that. Yeah, no, it was entertainer. And so I just didn't understand. Yeah, I was like, what?
Did you fight that at first? Like, no, that's not me.
No, I loved it. I was like, oh, that's my like other side. That's like who I should be. But then I didn't think that was something that I could reach for or even do. So I never really tried to do it. And then I started working in finance and accounting. And I was like, okay, so I can't imagine doing this for the rest of my life. Wow. So then I thought, well, let me find a hobby. So now I have the stable job. So now let me just find a hobby where I can kind of unleash my other part of my brain. And then I found acting and I just kept doing it. And it was so fun. And no, I was not natural. It's so funny how I'm pretty sure, like, again, I think it was natural whenever I was growing up. And then at a certain point, depending on how you grow up, depending on who your teachers are, who encourages you, what maybe is pushed down, again, depending on what your surrounding is like, it's interesting to see how that can translate. And then how, if you work on something, you kind of find who maybe you were before. Does that
Mm,
make sense?
yes, yes. Okay,
Okay.
it does. Keep going. I'm with you. I'm with you, girl.
Okay, and because it's like I think it's a societal thing also where everyone just depending again your surrounding the society that you're brought up in and just how what's considered correct, what's considered taboo. So all these labels and things that people place not even sometimes directly on you, but just whatever you're seeing in the world and how
Yeah.
you should behave and how you should just be as a person. Uh, I think that just kind of all, and especially being young, you're just sponging up
Yep.
everything and soaking it all up. And so then it kind of, you don't realize unless you reflect. And I love that you're a psych major because then I feel like you would understand this. Unless you reflect when you're an adult, do you understand and see how much society has affected you and how much your surroundings has affected you growing up. And if you choose to, I think you can, depending, hopefully you're doing it for the right reasons. If you choose to, I think you can kind of unravel all those things and find who you really are or who you want to be or who you naturally were supposed to kind of or how you were naturally supposed to show up in the world.
Yeah. It's so good. I once heard it put this way. It's like a lot of maturing is just unbecoming everything you weren't. And that's kind of what I was thinking about when you were speaking to that. It's like, and I even think too, there's such a faith aspect to this because, it's like God knew us before we were born and formed us before the world knew who we were. And so it's like when we enter this world, we are just all of a sudden these sponges, to use your language, of messaging, like how we should be and how we're not good enough and how we need to change ourselves to measure up with a physical aspect or a mental aspect or an emotional aspect or like a financial aspect, ranking aspect. And I, in my own life too, have seen like the journey of taking one step at a time. The more I feel like I realize who God is in my life, the more I realize who I never was. And like have the courage to say, wait, no, that isn't me. Or like, wait, no, I am good at this thing. Or like, wait, no, like that does feel like me. And there's a difference between doing something you feel like you should be doing versus doing something that you're like, no, I really think I was made to do this. And it's funny because you use the word you weren't a natural. Same. Like I even think about things I would say I'm called to do, or like I sucked at first. But the difference was I just enjoyed it so much. There wasn't this
Me
like
too.
forceful, you know what I mean? But I'm curious, like for you in this kind of relationship of becoming and unbecoming and the maturity of like you were doing a finance job and now you're acting like where is your faith in all of this? Like how was God modeled to you growing up and how has that relationship developed and the progress of your relationship with yourself?
Wow. So the way I think, oh gosh, without even trying, I was never really, I didn't grow up. I've had moments where I was super religious, not like I went through phases. That was also an exploration for myself as well. Um, and it was interesting growing up because I actually grew up with two different religions in my household. So my dad is Muslim and then my mom is Catholic. And
Mm.
having both, and they both, my dad, I would say, is more culturally, but then that's just like a whole nother thing. But still, they believe the essence of all of it. My mom's super Catholic, and it was actually really beautiful. It's one of those things that when you reflect back on as an adult, do you realize I'm so thankful for how I grew up. I'm happy that
Mm.
it was in a multi-religious household because I feel like it makes me more open-minded to
Mhm.
things. And that's how they raised me as well, was, this is your mom's religion, this is my religion, and or this is your dad's religion. And we went to both religious establishments, and I had friends of both, and not just that. Obviously, growing up in Texas, I had friends of everything. um and so it was just such a, I think I am hesitating because I haven't thought about, honestly, the way that you worded that, the whole faith aspect with the journey.
Mhm.
And there was, again, reflecting back, it's so cool. Thanks for asking that question.
Yeah.
Um, Reflecting back, I think there had to be a lot of faith in going so many different directions. And what's interesting is I would, because it was so exciting, it was different ventures for me, right? So doing the finance accounting thing, that was just the regular thing, but going into the acting thing and getting into the creative side, that was something that was maybe just a little bit different for my circle and for my friends and for my family.
Yeah.
And whenever I started, because it was exciting for me, so whenever I started opening up to people about it and letting them know, because I kind of just did it just to try it, and then I was like, oh, I kind of
Mhm.
like this, let me do it more. And then if I, got a role or got something or learned something, then I wanted to share. uh and not everyone in my circle was accepting of it,
Mm.
like I thought that they would be, or as excited about
Like
it, like they,
celebrating you for it.
yeah. Yeah, and so eventually, after some time, how that changed for me. Instead of wanting to share with people, I would not share. I decided to just not tell
Mm.
people anything because I didn't want to feel bad about how I was living my life or what I was doing. Because I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. So I didn't want to be made to feel like I was failing at something or that I was wasting my time with something. And so eventually I just wouldn't tell anyone and I would just continue doing it. And so I do think that there had to be some kind of faith there. And I really do think it's in the moments where, your community is very important and having a tribe is very important, and the people you surround yourself with to have those that support system. It's truly important, but I feel like you don't know the capacity that you have within yourself until you choose to be by yourself and make decisions on your own, and
Mhm.
now it's just you and whatever kind of faith you have. And then
Mm.
that's even if you don't have faith, I feel like that's when you find faith.
Mhm. Ah, it's like
Yeah. I didn't think of it.
you gotta like get to this point where it's like you decide for yourself. And I think a lot of times we're forced to make those decisions by life and circumstance, you know what I mean? Because for so long, and that's so interesting, um and I even think about like the way you're able to reach so many different people now of different like the people watching NCIS Hawaii versus The Chosen. But that's what's so cool. And like so one of my pastors, he talks about this all the time. Like he sang in a multicultural choir, and that like all throughout his youth, and now he pastors a multicultural church, and he's like that was preparing me for to be able to lead people of all different backgrounds and perspectives. And I think about your story and like how cool is it, like you were one modeled such like different beliefs just up front and close, and now like God used that in your heart to teach you how to be kind and love and opening and like such a light for so many different kinds of people. And
Mm.
that's what you're doing with your like the evidence of that is in your work and your craft. And I just think that's so cool. And I can relate to the sometimes I have this feeling of like, where do I fit? Because you obviously have a part of you that can be analytical and can be very organized if you were finance, if you were working in finance, but then you also have this creative side. I was actually at dinner with some friends last night and we were talking about which one are you? Are you the person that's like super organized and routine oriented? Or are you the creative? And I literally was like, I'm not even kidding you. I am both to the extreme. Because I am a to-do list girl and I think
Love
logically and I
it.
love a good project planning and I love process orientation, but I also could write for hours and get
Mhm.
lost in video content creation. So I guess how would you describe yourself like that? Like the gifts God gave you, like where do you feel like you don't fit sometimes too?
No, it's so funny because I feel the same way, and I still remember because I love organization charts, and
Me too.
yes,
Yes.
and I love finding different kinds of. Has anyone sticked? Has any one of the organization charts say no? They haven't sticked, but I or stuck. But I've I've tried making acting sometimes, which is such a just out there kind of, especially when you're just working, all your ideas are everywhere, and there really is no linear, for me, there's really no linear way of working. But I was like, okay, so how can I make this make sense to me? Let me find an organization chart to put all my ideas of acting in there, of like what a human, like if you think about acting, it's literally just creating a human almost, like, or making someone feel like they are a life. And so bringing like a life into the world. And so you can't put that into an organization chart, but for sure I tried. So yeah, it's like a combo of both. And then even now that I've been doing a lot of the acting, and so finding the balance of, for the longest time I was doing both at the same time, finance and accounting and acting. And now I've been mainly acting for a good couple years now. And then now I'm like, well, I kind of miss finance now.
Really?
So yeah, all those, I think you can be both. It's kind of like what we were talking about, where I was doing finance and working in it, and then I just couldn't imagine doing an 8 to 5, 9 to 5 job for the rest of my life. I was like, there's got to be more to this. I can't just be sitting behind a desk this whole time. And then that's how I found acting. So it's just a balance of always and then you grow as a person. So then you find different ways of doing things. Or even if you want to, I don't think there's anything wrong with, maybe I was more of an organized person. Now let me try to just be more carefree. And how does that work? How does that work into my life, and how do I feel doing that? And then I feel like through that you go through the extremes, and then you just kind of mold it into what fits for you.
That's so true. I even think about too, like Ecclesiastes talks about there's a season for everything. Like there's a season to try different things, and there's a season. I mean, I even think about too, we live in such a what's my calling culture, and we're obsessed with finding our calling. And I'm always like, your calling is to be in relationship with God. And like the expression of that calling is so different depending on the season you're in. Like, I mean, I think it would be a horrible thing to think that your calling is to be a corporate finance employee, but then you become a mom and you have to take a year off to be with your kids. But like your calling in that season is to be a mom. Like it's always changing. And I think it's pivotal. And I think what's so cool about that too, like I think about you and then the finance and the acting. I'm sure with acting, you were talking about this, but it's like, it is creating a person. I never really thought about it that way, but like you're in acting, you're creating a person and like the emotions. And I mean, I am not an actress. I was Sharpay. Did you watch High School Musical ever?
No, but I know Vanessa Hutchins.
Yes.
I know Zac Efron are in there. It's
You
a
didn't
musical.
watch High School Musical? Yasmine, okay, to-do list item. Put it in the organizational chart. It's on your to-do list item.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
There are multiple, right? There's several.
So when I was in elementary school, Sharpay is like the mean popular girl that wears all bedazzled things. That's the one acting stint that I had. And it was so great. I was like, I'm never doing this again. I'm ending on a high note. Anyways, I'm joking, but I'm not an actress, but I imagine like there's gotta be some threshold of risk to almost like absorbing that character as yourself. I think I've like listened to some interviews before about people there. It's like they become their character and they can lose themselves in the process of like becoming that character. And you posted another Instagram quote. I love your Instagram quotes, girl. I did some deep stuff. But you said like, and God said, love your enemy. So I obeyed him and loved myself. And I thought about that. And it's what I initially reached out to you about, like that relationship between self-love and learning to love yourself, and how I'm sure in a position like yours where you're acting, it's even that much more important because you have to know who you are to go and embody another person without the risk of you becoming that person. And so, and I could be wrong there. I'm just curious though, like if that is like how you develop that armor of self-love and like in your relationship with faith and your relationship with growing and unbecoming. And so you can really step into who you are and thus be able to step into fully your roles with the Chosen and NCIS Hawaii.
feel like, oh my gosh, my mind is racing with all the things right now. And I'm really trying to, this is where an organization chart would be so great.
Let's
My
rip it
mind,
out. Let's get a whiteboard this session.
man, because I'm hoping that I remember all the points that I would love to discuss, and it would be so fun to discuss them with you. Um, I love that you brought that up. So let's see. Acting, acting. So I think what I really love about acting is that to bring in that quote of loving, because I think everyone is their own worst
Yeah.
critic. We can judge, we're with ourselves 100% of the time, and we know what we're doing, if it's right or wrong. We know what we're thinking, what we really want to do, all these things, what our thoughts are. Um, and we can be our own worst critic, and we can be so judgmental of ourselves. I know I am
Me too.
horribly, and I know that can, yeah, it can bring me down so much, especially if you think so much and you're so
Yeah.
analytical. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's just like it's never ending. There's just always so many thoughts. That what I love about acting is because we play so many, or I get the opportunity to play so many different types of characters with so many different lifestyles and thoughts and ways of living. And, you know, depending on how much work you do with something with like a backstory, their upbringing is very different. Um, you, it gives me the opportunity to learn how other people that I probably might judge, or maybe people who decide to do something that kind of reflects something that I have decided in my life, but I was maybe judging myself really harshly about.
Mm.
And then seeing how this character is going through it, what decisions they make, what they're thinking about it, how they reflect on it, how they move past it, or combat it, or even say, yeah, that was the wrong decision, but we can move forward. We don't have to stay in this. I think that initially that was a way for me to understand my mind in a safe way, because there was a layer. Instead of me having to do it for myself and reflect on myself and my decisions, I could do it through a character.
Mm.
But now, because I feel like I've lived my life, I mean, I'm not perfect at this, but I try to see it in a way of, I actually really do like learning about myself. I like unbinding everything and figuring more about my, is it pretty? No, it sucks. It's horrible. But then, because of my experiences doing that, I know that I've come out the other end more happy and more knowledgeable on myself, and just it makes me crave wanting to learn more.
Mm.
So that's how I see acting now. Like,
Mm.
it started as one thing where it was kind of a, you know, maybe a wall that I was putting up of like, oh, I can pretend to be this and I'm learning, but through a safe space. And then now it's more so, vulnerability has always been something that consistently I have to continue to work on. It's even with acting, like, it's, you know, you have to feel like you're in a safe environment, a
Mm.
trusted space, your fellow actors that you're working with, not even actors, but like all the people that are around you on set, there's a level of trust there.
Is that
And a
only
level,
something that can come externally, or do you do things internally to create that safe space?
I know I personally work on creating safe spaces for me. I think that's why whenever we were discussing the whole having, like, what it is for me that I need before I start working, and just having a little bit of time, 7 minutes, maybe I'll try 7 minutes now, just 7 minutes of
7 minutes
quiet
to
time.
safety. That's a
to
hashtag.
7 minutes. So to that just kind of like puts, because hopefully you're doing all this work beforehand, and it's for me, what I do in that little quiet time is bringing everything back to the character that I'm working on, what I'm about to go do, what the scene is about, and that in itself is kind of the safe space, is just wanting to be true to the character and what, just making sure that you're upholding the integrity of the work. And I don't know, that's like, to me, that equals safe space. It's kind of like, because it's like, because we're creating these people, I feel a sense of responsibility to tell their story in the best way possible. And if I'm not, then I know Yasmine would feel horrible about herself. So I guess that's the safe space, is the safe knowing that if I put my best foot forward for this other human, then I'll feel better about it. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Would you say that you apply that same principle and energy and intention to putting the best foot forward for creating that safe space just for yourself to be vulnerable as Yasmine, not as Yasmine for a character?
I definitely try to. Yeah, I've been trying that more and more as the years go on, and it's become easier, thankfully. Yes. To answer your question, yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
You look like you had another thought.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I was like, I'm trying to think of, because it wasn't always easy. And what I'm thinking about is, it also depends on the people. You have to find your people who you can be that. There are levels, I think, of what I share and how I share. And you just kind of gauge, depending on who you're around, what you share and how you can share.
That's so good. I think even to like creating a space, like doing that hard work, because like you said, it's not natural. And I even think about, like in scripture, when Paul talks about, like, I do the things I know I shouldn't do, and I don't do the things I know I should do. I think part of me, when I read or think something like that, it's like creating a safe space within myself. Not just with other people to open up, but like be open with yourself. For so long, especially in my college years, I was so resistant towards feeling pain because I associated my worth with like being able to make others happy and please people. And so I would literally run away from negative feelings, sadness, discomfort. Because I was like, if I feel that, then I'm not gonna be able to make whoever happy. But what that did was it caused me to not be a safe space. Like I didn't let myself sink into myself to feel my vulnerabilities. And there's power in that, like creating a safe space, not just in the environment you in for a character or a job or your friends, but like just by yourself. I always ask myself the question, like, if I was alone and like I just had God to talk to and it was just God and Annie, like would I feel safe? Or do I rely on all these external things? People's like clapping for me, applauding for me, telling me I did a good job. Am I relying on that to feel safe in myself? And it's interesting because it's like I feel like we do live in a world that positions external measurements of success as a gradient for feeling safe with how you're doing in life. And stripped of all that, are you still good? You know?
Yeah. And that's so funny because I don't know if you saw my Instagram, which you did. I know you did.
I did some stalking.
My last post was in 2019, and I'm getting back into it. I go through phases. I posted my first story, I think, in October of 2023.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm going to tag you in a story after this. You can repost it. So second story, March 1st, 2024.
There could be a timeline for, oh my goodness. But I hadn't posted on my wall grid. Wait, Facebook is wall.
Your profile.
My profile, yes.
Sorry, your feed. It's your feed.
My feed. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Yes. Wow. And all of them have different terminology. Like,
oh, I know.
Twitter, X Twitter. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't have an X. I don't have that. I'm just like Instagram. We're being intentional here. That's it.
Yes, that's enough. That's where everyone is. Yeah. So I stopped because if you look at, actually, you can't put a timeline together, because if you look at the dates, it's literally me trying to maybe like market myself, enhance my career, and show people whatever image that I was trying to create. And then kind of falling off, because then I get so tired, all the constant that people talk about of social media and how it affects you and everything. And it would negatively affect me. And I was always comparing myself and all of this. And it was taking so much time away, so many things. And so I was like, okay, so let me just put that aside. But then I'd come back to it, and then I'd use it for a little bit. And then all the negative things started happening to me. So this is me personally, I just get easily affected by it and very quickly. And so then I also operate in extremes sometimes, where I'm just like, okay, you know what? No, I can't, because I just don't even want to think about it. I don't even know how to balance it. So just no. And that was 2019. Obviously, things have happened since then, and I haven't posted any of that. And a part of me is kind of happy that I didn't feel the need to, going back to everything that you just said, I didn't feel the need to have to, because I did think about it. I was like, maybe I should like let people know, like, I think this is so cool and it is so awesome. But when I would sit with myself and like be really vulnerable with myself, and then I thought about how it was for me, and ultimately what I decided, again, for me, is that I actually really enjoyed that I was getting these wins that I just thought were so cool, and I didn't feel the need to have to share it with people. And that was awesome. I don't know, there was something to that where I was like, I would rather live I was thinking long run, in the long term of the span of things of my life. I was like, I think I would rather be that way. That's how I would like to live my life, instead of feeling like I don't ever want to feel like I need the approval of people, or the acceptance of people, or an applause every single time. And it's great. It really is. See, this is the balance. Like I admire people who can just live their lives on social and still be normal. It's just so hard. It really is. It affects me to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sad. My life is not like this, or doesn't look like this. Or even if things are, I think, awesome, I'm like, maybe it's not that awesome. Maybe I'm not great.
No,
It affects me.
I think that there's so much wisdom in what you just shared, because even I was listening to a podcast the other day. Do you know who Sadie Robertson is? She is.
Oh my God, her name sounds familiar.
She does a podcast that's awesome, but she was talking about how we all have, and James talks about this in scripture, but like we all have kind of like unique sins of our, like we have unique things that are sensitive to us in regards to like sin and what like triggers us. And I think that's true. It's like, God made us all uniquely, so we all have different trigger points. And I think just like for example, there's going to be people who are listening in that they will never struggle with alcoholism. Like they just won't. Like drinking too much alcohol for them, like they know when to stop. But there's other people that are like, they can't have a drink because it's so sensitive for them. There's people on this podcast that maybe like for them it's pornography, right? And other people it's like, I've never struggled with that. Some people it's money. It's like being super OCD about their finances and not being able to spend anything. And other people are like, but I just have never struggled with that. And I think it's just like about knowing what that is for you, one, and then two, also knowing the intention of your heart. It's like, man looks at the outward appearance, God looks at the heart. And I think about, especially social media and me, interesting relationship too. I took a break about 6 months ago, because same thing, I was getting really sad. I was comparing myself to basically seeing everything I wasn't, and like everything I had not accomplished. And I think the algorithms are literally skewed that way to show you like everything you haven't done. But anyways, when I was posting, I was like, okay, I got to this point where I was like, what's my intention here? It's not to serve people or to give value. It's to make myself feel like I'm enough. And those are two very different things, because it's a great tool. It, like a hammer can build a house out of a toe. Social media is the same. It's done amazing things, but it's like when you use it, what's your intention behind it? So I think there's wisdom in what you just said, especially for this the audience demographic we're speaking to, like mostly 18 to 25-year-old young girls. I mean, social media is nuance, or not nuance, but it's as part of their lives as shoes are to people. Like they just grew up with it. It's just like the idea of having it is they don't know what that's like. And so I think what you said about being reflecting on your intention is so good. And it's so interesting too with The Chosen. I mean, it's just blown up, and that is something you're a part of. And to not feel called to like shout that all about, which most people would want to, you know what I mean? And I'm curious, because where was The Chosen filmed in Texas? Was it filmed in Dallas?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just a little south of Dallas.
Oh my gosh. So I was curious about this too. Like
Yeah.
with The Chosen, I mean, I'm sure you have changed so much in the filming of The Chosen as yourself, like what you've learned about yourself. And but I think it's cool how it was filmed in basically your hometown. So you had this reflection between Yasmine before The Chosen and like everything she's known up to that point, being in a place she's familiar with, and then also having this experience that's probably changed her so much, but you're still in the environment the old Yasmine was in. So like, how has that been? And how, like, what are some of the things you've learned about yourself and grown into with yourself that are so contrasted because you have this unique opportunity to be in the place you grew up or live?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I don't know. It really, I try to be as present as I possibly can. And I don't think, if anything, it's just really exciting. It's exciting to see that, oh, my hometown is right there. We film maybe 20 minutes south of where I grew up. So I went to high school there. I went to grade school, elementary, middle school. My childhood home is there. And so for me, it's more so exciting. It's very interesting to see how just a city itself changes just as time goes on. But when I sit and reflect back on it, I definitely did not think that old Yasmine, who was sitting on the bleachers watching Duncanville Panthers play, would be probably filming 20 minutes south years later. And that's just such a cool, it's fun. The fact that even just acting in general was not even planning on doing that. And I had to leave Dallas to go to LA to pursue my dream, which I didn't even know if it was a dream. I was like, let me just see what happens. I feel like this is the next step. Let's just do that. To only go back home, like my dream sent me home, which was really, that like means a lot to me.
That, okay, for some reason what came to mind is like,
so when I sit and think about that, that's like that hits.
Yes. I think oftentimes we think our dreams are this really far away thing or this far away place, or like God's going to take us on this crazy journey. And it does, like, but a lot of times the journey is internal. It's like the furthest journey you will go is internally. Have you ever read The Alchemist?
I love The Alchemist.
Let's go. That is what I'm thinking of. Because
they're making a movie.
It's a movie?
I don't know if it's out yet, but they're making one.
You should be in it.
I'm pretty sure.
I should be in it. I should come back from my Sharpay stint and come and be in it.
Yes. This is your time, bro.
Absolutely not. But I like that whole, for those who don't know the book, you should go get the book, but or watch the movie coming out soon. But basically, like, the idea is this, you know, the guy goes on this massive, crazy journey to come right back to where he was. That's literally how I'm thinking of your story right now. It's like you've gone on this crazy journey to come back to where you always were, but as this like way deeper and more developed and more unbecoming, to wrap up to what you're initially talking about, person. Like, how cool is that? That like, that's the journey that you got to go on. I even think about too, like looking at the life of Jesus and what you guys are portraying with The Chosen, like his entire ministry, I think it's like was in a span of 30 miles or something like that. Like he didn't physically go very far, but he impacted the entire world for generations to come. I just think so often we overgeneralize and over exaggerate what we think like needs to happen before God wants to use us, or before we can step into that thing that's nudging on our heart. And it's like, the joke is, no, you have it all right here. Like, follow that seed. And oftentimes you're going to be right where God initially put you, but just as a more unbecoming person, looking more like him, like stripping yourself of all that you never were and owning all that you always were. And it's cool to see your story play out like that. And it's just, what you guys are doing is so cool. And I know we're coming up on time. I could talk to you for like 60,000. But okay, I want to hear about The Chosen and NCIS Hawaii updates. What's going on? Where can people find you? What are you excited?
So what'd you say? What am I excited about?
Yes.
I'm excited about football season, Dallas Cowboys. I have to throw a shout out. I always have to throw a shout out about my Dallas Cowboys. Here we go. And okay, speaking of The Chosen, season 4 is out right now in theaters. Episode 7 and 8, when at the time of this filming, 7 and 8 is out. And let's see, it should be out on the app mid-March after we're done with 7 and 8 being out in theaters. And then NCIS Hawaii we started airing on CBS, and that is on Mondays. And we are on, the next episode is going to be this upcoming Monday. What date is that? March 1st, 2nd,
March
4th?
March 4th.
Yes, episode 4 of season 3.
Season 3 on 3-4. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
That.
It just put it together.
I like that.
I love that too. That means it's going to be good vibes. That means everybody's who's tuning into this needs to be watching that, because it's just nice how that linearly. That would be great on an organizational part.
So much. I love how much you love numbers. This is just so.
No, I have these weird things in numbers, but it's funny because I suck at math. Like when it comes to actually like calculating numbers, I am awful. But I just have weird, I don't know, quirks with numbers.
Yeah, you notice them. So whenever you just look into the world, like if you do your laundry, are you like is it numbers? Are you like looking at numbers somehow?
Yeah, I did you ever have a TI-84? Like a TI-84?
I love those,
girl.
Do they use them still? Because if they did, that's how you shared notes in school sometimes.
I'm telling you.
Right now, I love things that you could do.
Mm-hmm. People do not know. No. If they do not have a TI-84 calculator, they are missing out. I still have, they were expensive too. I kept mine. It's like, I'm keeping my TI-84.
Yeah. Oh man, smart. Take instruments based out of Dallas.
Yeah.
They're in Dallas.
Based out of Dallas?
So anytime I'm driving by, I'm like, there's my childhood.
Think about me. That's literally how I got to school. We're actually like a computer for, I mean, it was crazy, but it was so bulky. I mean, I still remember like having to shove that thing in my backpack. It made my backpack like 20 pounds heavier, but I was like, this thing, man. Oh my gosh, Yasmine, you are such a delight. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. Where can people find you if they also want to stalk you? And
oh, I love stalking. Let's see. I shouldn't promote stalking. That's not a good thing.
Healthy, reasonable, legal stalking. Where can they do that?
Come on, guys. I am, I think, on all things Yas, Y-A-S, my last name, Al-Bustami.
Are you on X? I think that's it. Are you on Twitter?
Yeah. Okay. I am on Twitter X, yes.
All right, cool. Well, Yasmine, you are amazing. I watched The Chosen already, season 4, episodes 7 and 8. But for those who haven't, seriously, go watch it. Go watch NCIS Hawaii on Monday, and I will be tuning in. And you're just such a delight. Not only that, but like you are just so. This is probably one of my most fun podcast conversations I've ever had. Like you just shine light. so many areas, and it's so inspiring for young women to look up to you. And like, I just hope, if anything, they adopt from this conversation the way you're able to take this kindness in your heart, but shine it to all people and in all spaces. And like, remember with that, that's what we're called to do. We're called to be lights of the world. And the world is big, and the world needs light right now, really bad.
A lot.
So thank you for all you do, truly.
Thank you. Thanks so much for this podcast too and having me on.
Of course. Anytime.
I'm so excited.
Anytime, girl.
Yeah.